What I wish trans activists knew about advocating for trans people. Prologue and credentials. I am Armti Aquila. I am a transgender woman and proud U.S. Army veteran. I was a public affairs NCO for my final 5 years in the Army. After returning to civilian life, I completed a bachelor's degree in public relations at Kennesaw State University in Kennesaw, Georgia. In addition to a professional interest in effective advocacy, I am personally affected by the general discourse over transgender and gender expansive rights, TGX. TGX includes but is not limited to transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people. It is an inclusive rather than exclusive term. The following are key points on what I wish activists understood when speaking for and about the TGX community. I will be discussing things from a US-centric perspective, as that is where I live. Recording date for this video is 03 November 2023. Come, let's begin. TGX people are not a monolith. The TGX community is racially, ethnically, and socioeconomically diverse. We are also politically diverse, but tend to skew progressive in the United States. Some of us are veterans, many are not. The oldest trans person I've encountered started transition in her late 70s. The range of experiences is just as diverse as any other population segment in the US. The bottom line is that we are people and thus not interchangeable. How you talk about the trans community and all the issues that we face directly affects our lives. I am fond of saying, don't make enemies where none need be made. When advocating on behalf of TGX people, being needlessly aggressive is not in our best interest. Also, I know it sounds redundant, but TGX people are still people. Using unnecessarily academic language can leave others with the impression that we are some kind of experiment. I assure you we are not. Not only can this type of language leave mistaken impressions, but can alienate your audience. I've not met anyone who likes being talked down to, and using fancy academic terms can give the impression that you're implying the listener is stupid for not understanding esoteric words. Communicating these methods can make enemies of the everyday American who we absolutely need on our side. More aggressive or condescending language can create enemies and lead to real-world violence. Coercion does not make meaningful or lasting change and eventually puts trans people in danger. Coercion is persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Modern coercion often takes the form of, if you don't think hormones should be available to anyone who wants them with no medical supervision, you're a transphobe. I know that's an inelegant example, but they often come across like that. Coercion and shame go hand in hand, and you may get short-term compliance, but ultimately leaves the primary stakeholders feeling that the speaker is an asshole. By the transitive property, people can take the path of, if the speaker is an asshole and he supports trans people, then trans people are assholes. Again, it's an inelegant example, and it still illustrates the point. We, the TGX community, get tarred and feathered based on your behavior. Cyberspace is not the same as meat space. What happens on the internet almost never stays there. It informs real-world interactions and perceptions. As mentioned before, picking fights with people on the internet about TGX issues can lead to real-world violence. Additionally, the way people interact on social media is different than the way people interact and act when they're face-to-face with someone. Please be a good ambassador. As an activist, you serve the transgender community's needs. We don't serve yours. I wish I didn't have to say it like this. Your activism must reflect the realities that TGX people are living or the ideal state we are trying to get to. We are not obliged to conform to your talking points. I get it. You're passionate about this and you want your vision of an ideal world. That's to be commended. The reality is, TGX people have lives to live. We have enough going on without having to conform to someone else's idea of how we need to be TGX. Convey benefits of supporting trans rights to others. The best way to the best way to get people to see things your way is to include what's in it for them for conforming to new ideas and standards. Getting good person points don't always translate well into what benefits the audience. Last up, set and understand a clear goal and understand what that means in the broader context. Scope creep kills projects and teams and stresses everyone. Have a clear goal of what changes you want to see and a realistic timeline for achieving them. Individuals can be likened to a jet ski. They are fast, nimble, and essentially can turn on a dime, depending on the conditions. Society at large is more like an aircraft. It has an aircraft carrier, excuse me. It has mass and inertia that needs to be overcome. Do we need to change at a faster rate to protect lives? Absolutely. And changing society too quickly, particularly through coercion, is going to break things. We need people at the tip of the spear, but if everyone is concentrated there, what's left to drive the point when things don't go as planned? The people who are slower to change are needed just as much as the early adopters. Making decisions and taking actions with a deliberate goal of supporting long term strategic objectives ultimately leads to a better state for everyone. Thank you for listening. If you feel that I've gotten a concept materially incorrect, please let me know and let's have a discussion. As always, be safe, be well, take charge.